Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are at. Good happy Monday to everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. Today we are going to talk about, let me just get this queued up here so I can see comments. Where's everybody at? Let me see. There we go. Let me turn this down so I don't have to hear the echo for myself. And let me see who's jumping on here. Perfect. So hopefully y'all had a great weekend. And for those of you mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. Hopefully you had a special day. I know for some people it's a difficult day as well. So sending you a lot of love and thoughts as well. And we are starting a new week. It is Monday once again. And today I want to talk a little bit about harmonizing masculine and feminine energy. We are in a space right now in the world where there's a lot of masculine energy. There's a lot of tipped masculine energy. It's been very heavy. There's been a lot of fighting, a lot of conflict, a lot of contrast. And that's not to say that that's the only thing that comes from masculine energy. Because what I want to talk about is we need to have that balance or that harmonizing of both in order for us to have what's known as divine leadership, for us to be in a place where we can truly bring that oneness back together. And so what I want to do this morning is just talk a little bit about what the differences are between masculine energy and feminine energy. And this is not male female. I really want you to understand. Oftentimes we think that masculine energy is just men and feminine energy is just females. And masculine and feminine energy has nothing to do with male and female. It has to do with different characteristics and qualities and how you channel and use your energy. And so we all have, every single person has both masculine and feminine energy. Some of us have more feminine energy. Some of us has more masculine. The other thing I also want you to realize is oftentimes we think, I grew up thinking I had a lot more masculine energy. I was very tough, strong. I knew how to go after and make things happen. Yet what we don't realize is oftentimes we have layers that we've put onto what our natural state is. And so it took some work. I actually did some work about 2 years ago. I was in Vancouver with a mentor of mine, and we were in the middle of a very deep training, and we got into a space where he's like, I want you to think about whether or not you think you have more masculine or more feminine energy. And I said something about having more masculine. He looked at me and he said, no, I would gather that you probably have about 85, 90% feminine energy, which is your natural space. And it was interesting because he asked some questions to help get back into that core. And so, for example, when you think about sort of that go-to space, that when you're kind of like in a chill zone or you want like just to kind of feed your soul, what speaks to you, right? Do you get into a space where you're like, God, I really want something that's a feel-good movie, that's a romantic comedy, that's something that feels sweet? Or are you someone that's like, no, I want an action. I want to see some things like moving fast. Just that question alone sometimes can be an indication around what our natural energy really feels like. And for me, it was kind of an eye opener because it's actually been over the last 2 years that I've allowed myself to better understand what that feminine energy really is and what that softness looks like. Because oftentimes when we think about feminine energy, we put it in a box like we do everything else. And we think it only serves in one way, that it's this very demure, it's this very sweet, it's this very soft, it's this very gentle energy, which it is. And that can look different for different people. And so what I want you to realize is it's not a one size fits all, just like everything that we talk about. It's also not, when we talk about divine feminine, when we talk about what that feminine energy is, it's going to look different for different people. And so really want us to understand and kind of grab onto what does this look like for each of us individually. And so again, each of us have this balance or maybe imbalance right now. We're going to talk about balance and imbalance and how to harmonize that a little bit more. But each human being has both masculine and feminine energy. And it's only when we learn to harmonize that for ourselves that then we can start to harmonize that collectively so that we can then create divine leadership where we are not only activating how to make things happen, we are also allowing and receiving and creating this nurturing environment of gentleness and softness that is allowing us deep compassion and empathy and and to remember that we are all connected in a bigger space. And so I say that because we also want to talk about the levels of consciousness. And so I'm going to get into the levels of consciousness more, but there are based on work and from different teachers, but particularly I love Michael Beckwith, talking about the 4 levels of consciousness. And so the 4 levels of consciousness are, and I think I mentioned this last time a little bit, the first one is the victim consciousness, which is life is happening to me. Then we move into a second stage, which is the manifestor consciousness, which actually is that space. Manifestor consciousness is where masculine energy comes from. And so again, we move in and out of these stages, by the way, and it's not linear. So we can have multiple areas of our life where we can be in different stages. I know there are times that I can feel myself every now and then fall back into that victim consciousness. And it's like, ooh, I feel like something's happening to me, instead of allowing myself, good morning, Renee. Good to have you here. Everybody that's joining, good morning, good morning. And so I want you to recognize the fact that when we talk about that manifestor consciousness, that ability to make things happen, when we think that things happen by us, that is where that masculine energy comes from, okay? And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Then there's the third stage, which is what's known as the channeler consciousness, which is that feminine energy. This is the space of allowing and surrender and receiving and allowing life to happen through you. Now, we need to know how to master stage 2, the manifesting consciousness, to allow ourselves the opportunity to actually be in the channeler consciousness, which most of life in and of itself is actually in a more feminine state, more of a life is happening through it. Think about an acorn, right? An acorn does not make itself become an oak tree. It just knows and is following its path and is allowing life to happen through it so that it just becomes whatever it's supposed to be. Because then that moves us into that 4th stage of consciousness, which is really around that being consciousness. And that is when life is us. There's no separation. We absolutely know the oneness of things. And what's great about that is, and some of you have probably felt this, when you're deeply in the zone, when you're like in your sweet spot and you're like, man, I don't know what happened, but all cylinders are firing. That is you being in that being consciousness. That's also you. We also tend to find that in our meditation when we are deeply connected to our higher levels of, what our gifts are, what is being channeled through us, but even at a higher level where there is no separation, there is just us being life. So the 2 stages we're really going to get into are manifesting and channeler. So when we talk about that masculine energy is that ability to harness the laws of the universe. So if you think about the fact, especially like the law of attraction, the law of reciprocity, the law of exchange, the law of circulation, there's so many laws out there, right? But let's just talk about the law of attraction for a minute, right? If any of you have seen The Secret, you remember it's ask, believe, and see. And receive, right? So it's this opportunity that we have to get clear about what we're asking to bring forth. What we do is we state or we ask or we put it out there with clarity. This is what I want. And so what we do is then we activate the law of attraction, which is happening all the time around us. Most of the time, the law of attraction is happening and we're kind of oblivious to it, or we're unconscious until we start to master the laws of the universe, the universal laws that are available to us, which is, again, what we learn in the manifestor state with our masculine energy. It's our ability to hold a very clear definition around what we want, and then create a very clear picture about what that looks like and what that feels like as if it's already here. That's the power of visualization. And so visualization is a really big tool, and it's actually a masculine energy that allows us to call forth what we say we want. And that work, we need that at times. We need to be able to make things happen, so to speak. And so it's the ability to take action, oftentimes, and hopefully aligned, inspired action. It's that space for us to really say, okay, this is what I want to see happen. How do I make that happen? We start to visualize, we start to activate, we start to connect our thoughts and feelings and where we're directing our interest into that space of how we're manifesting. So that is a space of masculine energy. And when I say that masculine energy, when it's balanced, and we're going to talk about what it looks like when it's imbalanced in a minute. When it's balanced, here are the qualities and characteristics that are brought forth, right? So when we are in that space of a balanced masculine energy, we are deeply present. So it's that opportunity to create presence. Your presence, that strength, that internal power comes from a masculine energy. So that ability to be in a space and carry a level of presence is balanced. Remember, I'm going to talk about unbalanced in a minute. Balanced masculine energy. And again, we have both masculine and feminine energy inside of us. It's also a space of deep focus. It's where we get to focus and laser in on certain things and say, this is where I need to do some deep work, right? This is, especially for some of you, and we're going to talk about this later on, and I'm going to pose a question in the group. How many of you have actually done your human design and know what that even means? But 70% of the population is some kind of generator, which means we are here to do work. And so the masculine energy is required for us to get focused around where to channel and put that energy to do our highest and best work. Feminine energy oftentimes is very open and fluid, and sometimes we need that space of being able to be focused in order to laser in to do our highest and best work. So that's balanced masculine energy. In addition, it's about our confidence comes from that place. Our ability to be logical or analytical and draw conclusions between things. So some of that linear thinking comes from that masculine domain. And so you can see where there's opportunities where we actually need to be in balance in those spaces, and we need to call that forward. So some of us that may be in more feminine energy may have an opportunity to bring through more masculine energy to activate our gifts at a higher level so that we can take more focused action, so that we can actually be more confident and allow ourselves to be so visible that we are actually drawing and attracting to us like a magnet the people that need to find us. Because some people that stay in feminine energy too much hide a little bit because they need that muscle to work to actually create that confidence, that presence to draw people to them. So you can see there's sort of this yin and yang dynamic going on between those two domains and those two energies. The other thing is, this is where our resiliency comes from, our ability to bounce back, our ability to say, okay, how am I going to grow and nurture or grow and become stronger as a result of this internally? This is an intrinsic space I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about pushing that out, because when we exert that out, that's where that becomes imbalanced. But masculine energy, when it's harmonized in our bodies, when it's harmonized for who we are, it's creating this space of confidence, clarity, focus, discipline, analytical approach or evaluation of how things are working or not. It allows us to create resiliency. It allows us to be competitive in the right spaces, which is, how do I make myself better than I was yesterday? How do I keep improving? It gives us that hunger for growth, for development. It's also a space where we take more risks and we allow ourselves to achieve next level of our own development and growth. So that's balanced masculine energy. When we then move into feminine energy, which is that channeling space, it's that ability to know that life is happening through us. When we have balanced feminine energy, we are in a space to receive. We are in a space of invitation. We are in a space of allowing. It's that space of grace. It's that space of empathy and compassion. It's that space of softness, that space of nurturing, that space where we express ourselves. That's where our emotional intelligence comes from, is our feminine energy. And so our masculine energy is a very intellectual domain, whereas our feminine energy is a very emotional, receiving, surrender, allowing. And by the way, surrender does not mean I give up. Surrender means I am allowing life to happen through me. I am allowing my gifts to be expressed through me at their highest and best level. I am allowing myself to be seen in my vulnerability. I am allowing myself. This is all the feminine energy. So you can see how, if you're looking at being a whole person, if you're looking at divine leadership, how we need to harmonize those two things and create a balance for ourselves at any given time. Now, a balance doesn't mean you're going to have half masculine, half feminine. That's why I use the word harmonize more. It's really around, what do you need at any given point, and how do you allow yourself to dance in between the two spaces. And again, there's that responsibility, right? If it's how we choose to show up, how we choose to serve, how are we allowing ourselves to dance in that space? Because when we look at the masculine energy, it's our ability to make things happen through visualization. It's achievement. The achievement of the masculine energy is this desire for freedom. So many of us are looking to create freedom in our lives. That comes from a masculine energy. And so masculine energy is all about the freedom we are creating in our lives and for ourselves. It's around affirmation, decrees, declarations. It's those statements around, here's who I choose to be. It's those statements of, I have clarity around what I want to open up access to. I have clarity around how I want to step forward. And I'm taking that personal confidence for myself to take that on as a truth, and then activating the universal laws, the law of attraction, and through visualization, through affirmations, through ways to guide myself. This is all the masculine. And it's all about, again, really understanding and being able to activate those universal laws. So then when we move into the feminine, so you need that, right? You need that ability to be able to know that. Then we move into the feminine energy, which allows life to happen through us. And it's protecting us. One of the beautiful things around the feminine energy is this is where that sense of social injustice, that sense of wrongdoings, that sense of needing to heal and nurture and shift the consciousness. This comes from that feminine energy. And so again, the masculine energy helps us take action and move things forward and get clarity and have confidence to allow ourselves leverage to actually create ways to make things happen. The feminine energy is around, how do we shift that consciousness? How do we nurture? How do we address that sense of injustice, that sense of wrongdoings, that sense of in equilibrium? That inequity comes from the feminine. So of course we need to bring that forward. It's also the embodiment of love and light. And so when you think around, if masculine energy is all around freedom, feminine energy is all around love. And you can see how we need the balance, the harmony between freedom and love. We need to create ways for us individually and collectively to feel and know and connect to our own individual peace and freedom. And we also need to know and how to step into and activate our love and light. And so that harmonizing of those two energies allows us that space of divine leadership. The other thing around feminine energy is it is truly expression of life happening through you. It is your gifts, which, by the way, and I love the way that the Course talks about this, the Tao talks about this, even the work I've recently been doing with Michael Beckwith, your gifts are not yours. Everything you think is yours is actually not yours. It's here for those that you serve. So the gifts, the talents, the capacities, the potential you have is not actually yours. It's the world. And your opportunity is to express that in its fullness. So when you know how to take action to align yourself to the clarity of what that means, masculine energy, and you allow yourself the opening, the gentleness, the softness, the expression, feminine energy, you can see how you now have the dance between the yin and yang, which is allowing you to activate a much higher level of leadership and consciousness, which is going to help others do the same. So I hope this is making sense for those of you that are jumping on. The other thing is I want you to realize it is this space of allowing and surrendering. And again, feminine energy is not weak. We have grown up thinking, to allow, to surrender, there's a weakness to that. Masculine energy is strong. No. Balanced masculine energy is strong, so is balanced feminine energy. When, however, we get into a space where the energies are imbalanced, both of them actually create weaknesses and is where things start to fall apart. So if we look at that's the way to activate and create balanced energies, that becomes this dance that we're harmonizing. And then let's take a moment to talk about, I hope this is making sense for all of you. It's really essential when you start to recognize that we have both. And for some of us, one of those sides may have been dormant for a while, or one of those sides may actually have we haven't activated, or we've put layers of mass on because we've been clobbered in one space or the other, right? Oh, I love that, Renee. Makes total sense, right? And so think about that, because we think, and oftentimes we say masculine energy is just this, yes, and that's usually very imbalanced, or feminine energy is supposed to be this space of just waiting and allowing others to walk all over us. And it's supposed to be this very demure, it can be. And it can also still be a very strong space of knowing who you are and being able to allow yourself to express that in its fullness. So when we move into that, when we move into the imbalanced space, I want you to realize here's the things that show up. From a masculine perspective, what shows up is aggressiveness. What shows up is a controlling, dominating energy. It's a projection out. It's the need to control others. So you can see where some of that masculine energy has been imbalanced in the world lately, where there's this whole, I'm going to dominate over, my way or the highway. It's very aggressive. It's very antagonistic. It's very conflict driven. Very imbalanced masculine energy. It's also a space of rigidness. I can't hear you because I'm stuck in my own stuff. Unstable. There's an unstableness to it where people blast anger, or they're blasting projections, or they're blasting whatever it might be, right? And there's this need for, good morning, Bonita. Good morning. Good morning. And there's this need to be overly competitive in ways that don't serve. There's competition that is healthy competition. And there's competition that puts us in a space that literally is that dominating, I have to win. That is an imbalanced masculine energy. When it all becomes who's going to win, who's going to dominate, how much, how fast, how can I get more. That is an imbalanced masculine energy. And it's a lot of what we've seen in the world right now. And so a lot of people think, oh, masculine energy, that's bad. And I love this, Renee. It speaks to having a very high emotional intelligence, yes, and confidence leadership for the collective good of all. And I love that you just said emotional intelligence and confident leadership. Emotional intelligence comes from your feminine energy. Confidence comes from your masculine energy. So it's that balance, that harmony, the fact that you talked about, you need both sides of it, right? Because confidence is very different than arrogance. Arrogance is an over imbalanced masculine energy. And so when we think about that, it becomes very abusive. We also find that the masculine energy is that space where we want to withdraw. It becomes abusive. It becomes out. We want to shut people down. It's that bull in a china shop mentality. And if you've ever been in corporate, there's a lot of that imbalanced masculine energy. Our government has had a lot of that, right? Our society, our culture, right? Absolutely. And so I love that. Thank you, Renee. And so it's that space of when we recognize, so we need to let go of this idea that masculine's bad, feminine's good, or the other way around. Feminine's weak, masculine's strong. That's a bunch of crap. We need to let that go and realize that we need both sides of the equation. Just like any chemical equation that's out there, it must find its balance. Everything needs to be in harmony. Everything has a yin and yang, this or that. We cannot have strong without having weak, right? We cannot have good without having bad. So there's always a yin and yang. However, when we let go of the judgment and we sit in a space where we recognize, oh, what we're seeing is an imbalance, because we're also seeing a lot of imbalanced feminine energy, which is the space of insecurity, neediness. It's a space of being depressed or codependent. It is a space of martyrdom or being the victim. That victim space comes from unhealthy emotional intelligence, which has us placing blame or complaining or justifying, rationalizing or apologizing how we show up in the world, and apologizing for being visible, for apologizing for asking questions, apologizing for showing up. That all is imbalanced feminine energy, which we're also seeing quite a bit of in the world as well. And some of it comes from because the masculine energy is imbalanced. We have a whole nother set of energy that is imbalanced that's on the feminine side as well. Bonita, absolutely. Balance is so important. And that balance is going to change on any given day, which is why it needs to be harmonized. It's like that moving center that's always swinging one direction or another. How do we align ourselves with wherever that's moving to be in harmony? Because sometimes there is a call for us to have more of our masculine energy present Other times there's a time for us. And when we understand the dynamics of the two and we understand the power of both, we then can start to dance in between that seamlessly so that we can create a wholehearted completeness to who we are, so that we're standing in our individual divine leadership as part of a collective whole. And so the other things that show up from imbalanced feminine energy is overly emotional. It can be inauthentic. So those of us that are, when we get into spaces where we think we have to be something we're not, the shoulding we do all over ourselves. And yes, you heard what you heard. The shoulding we do all over ourselves. The need for perfectionism. Those are things we are being inauthentic because we think we have to be something else. We are insecure in our own expression of who we are. And so I say that because you can recognize where masculine and feminine energy are being in their clean, expansive wholeness, their intrinsic power, versus when it's, and notice how both spaces, there's a projection out when it's imbalanced. We don't need to assert anything. Actually, assertion is a masculine energy when it's balanced. It becomes aggressive when it's not. We don't have to put anything out when we're in both energies in a way that's clean and expansive. We are allowing things to be attracted to us, either through manifestation and what we visualize and what we claim, or through this ability to surrender and receive and allow ourselves to be still, to allow that which wants to be attracted to us to find us. Okay. So let's talk about, as we're bringing this kind of in, any questions or thoughts about that. And I love the comments from those of you that are on, and those of you that are watching later. Please let us know that you're watching the replay. I want to hear your comments around this topic, because when we get into then why we need both. So when you look at your masculine energy, I'm going to give you 4 things that really show up from a masculine energy that provide us opportunity. This is that balanced space, right? So when we talk about masculine energy, we're talking around presence. It's that ability to own your space. It's that ability to be seen. It's that ability to be in your fullness and create a presence. Have you ever been in a room, and I know I've been told this a lot. Like I said, I know how to use my masculine energy, where people will be like, I felt you before I even knew you were here, before I even saw you. That's a presence. That's a confidence. That's an ability to show up and say, because it's amazing to me, even when I was in corporate, how sitting around a boardroom table, women would come in the room and they would sit behind other people. They'd sit on the corners. They'd sit. I'm like, no, belly up. You need to create a space that says, I deserve to be here, because you have breath in your lungs and a fire in your belly. Just because you are here, you deserve to be here. There is no, I have to be enough. There is no, I need to deserve something. There's no, I need to earn it or achieve. You get to show up because you're here on this planet right now. That's when you know that you have a confidence and you have a presence. So the first aspect of balancing your masculine energy is knowing when and how to be in your presence. That in itself is an attraction magnet. It allows people to be drawn to you. It allows you to be that lighthouse in a sea of a lot of Charlie Brown, womp, 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 womp. Everybody's saying the same thing, looking the same and being in a box, right? Then it's that ability to claim or declare what it is you want to bring forward. So I want to grow my business, blah, 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 blah. It's a claim. It's a declaration. It's an owning. And then there's an assertion which says, I know I get to activate a way to take inspired action to start to align things to bring that forward. I know that by creating this confidence, this presence, and then declaring and claiming what's mine, and then asserting myself, which means aligning myself in the action, I then get to a place where I can conquer or manifest or bring that forward. So that is masculine energy, and that's balanced masculine energy when you are doing it from your highest and best space. Makes sense? Really important. So there's presence, there's claim, assertion, and conquering, right? There's this space of being able to very clearly put yourself in a place to say, I deserve to be here. I know what I want. I'm willing to do what's required to open up access for it. And when it comes, I will own it, receive it, and know that it came with purpose. Okay. So that's the masculine way we get to activate our energy and begin the harmonizing. On the feminine side, it's about invitation. And so here's where it's really interesting. Like when you're in a sales dynamic, one of the things people don't realize is if you start the sales process from feminine energy and you close the sales process with masculine energy, there's a really beautiful dance that happens, because sales is a love letter that you're giving other people, right? We're going to talk about this more another time, that soul selling. It's that space to invite people in. You all are here by invitation. I didn't go out and demand you show up. I didn't go out and project myself and claim that you had to come. It was an invitation. It was, here's a community that I've built. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. Here's the goals. Here's the space. I invite you to come in. And then on some of these calls, I'm inviting you into this conversation and then giving you a clear action or a way to step forward or some things to think about that then is sort of that masculine energy. So there's a balance between those two, because you create the invitation. You're inviting that which you want in. And then you surrender. You allow yourself to have it channeled through you. And you give yourself space to be able to express your truth, express your authenticity, express who you are, express your gratitude, express your emotions, that expression of oneself. And then it's that space of being. It's that space of simply allowing yourself to be in any given moment. So you can feel the energy, right? There's a softness. And again, that looks different for everybody. There's a softness that shows up for the feminine. And there's a very strong clarity, like presence, that shows up for the masculine. So again, where and how you dance between the two becomes important. And it might be that there's presence, then an invitation. Then do you see how you might like dance between these different areas? It's not, oh, I'm going to be all of my feminine and all of my masculine. There's a way that you're going to sort of do a tango or a waltz, or because tango is more of a masculine dance. Well, depends on how you look at it. It's got both. Notice the tango actually has both masculine and feminine energy. It's a very seductive, very opening, very fluid, and it's a very strong, very, right? So thinking about how you tango through your own energies, beautiful kind of analogy around that, right? So what I want you to realize is when you get into that space, there are ways that if you feel, because we can tell when we're imbalanced, again, it's that body scan, that checking in to say, do I feel contracted or do I feel expansive? Ways that you can balance your masculine energy is to honor time for rest. Oftentimes we get into that masculine energy and it's go, 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 pound, 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 drive, 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 drive. I gotta get it done. And it's that energy, and we need to stop and honor space for rest. We need to create movement. Too often when we're in that masculine energy, it's just hard driving. How do you create some of that fluidity, that dance, that movement? The other thing is, if you feel like your masculine energy is getting really imbalanced, a couple things that are really key are reconnecting back to nature or spending time with children. What that does is that automatically expands you and gets you grounded and connected back into a natural feminine energy that allows you to start balancing out where you're feeling imbalanced. So nature and children, animals, are really key when you're feeling. So for those of you, male or female, if you're feeling like your masculine energy has been taking over, give yourself some rest and say, how do I go hit the trails today? And not go pound out 5 miles like you're going to go run a marathon. Well, that's not a marathon, but you know what I mean. You're not going like, you're going to breathe in and connect to nature or kids, or go volunteer somewhere or whatever. And then allow for creativity. Allow yourself to play. Take out a coloring book, take out some markers and crayon, whatever it is. Allow your space, Play-Doh, ways that you can actively create. Cook in the kitchen. Cooking is really good to get you out of your masculine energy. It's anywhere where you play piano, play music. It's why you see a lot of people that have very masculine energy also are like, you know, they play music, they paint, they do other things, because it helps balance out when that gets imbalanced. And so those are some things that you can consider when you're feeling that masculine energy is hit kind of a little too strong. On the feminine side, some things that you can do is create real boundaries. So for those of you that feel like you're being walked all over, or that you are too open or too invulnerable, or people are taking advantage of you, you need to learn how to say no. You need to say, I am not available for X, Y, and Z. Creating those boundaries. You'll notice your masculine energy is really good about boundaries. Your feminine energy, not so much. So allowing yourself a space to get clear on what's okay for you, what's not, what's safe for you, what's not, and creating boundaries and learning how to say no are going to be absolutely key. Then you also have an opportunity to look for where you can take action, real action. Because if we're too in the feminine energy and we're in a place where we're imbalanced, we're spiraling, we're questioning everything. We don't want to step on people's toes. We don't know what to do. It's that space of taking action in any way that we can. Creating a way for you to get momentum going is going to be absolutely, and taking responsibility in that, letting go of the blame stories and that victim space that we tend to get into when we're in our feminine energy, is letting go of the need to apologize, letting go, taking full responsibility for what's ours to own, and letting go of things that are not yours. For those of you that tend to take on responsibility for other people, being decisive, taking action, honoring your own self-confidence, honoring your own worth, and knowing that you are worthy just because. There is no reason why. You are just worthy because. Plain and simple, and doing what you need to do to practice that space of honoring confidence for yourself, your own self-love, and being able to dial into that. And then try a competitive task. For those of you that really are in your feminine energy and are imbalanced in that, it's an opportunity to say, how can I go play a game of pool or darts, or race somebody, or do something that's just play a board game. It's a great way to bring some of that feminine energy in and get it balanced again, so that you can harmonize it with some masculine energy as well. So hopefully that was helpful for all of you. I am actually, just like I did before, I'm going to share with you a couple different frames. I'm going to post a couple different visuals that will further sort of activate what we've talked about on this call today, so that you'll have the visual. They'll put out 4 things as soon as we're done with this, and then this will be here. So those of you that watch later, please let us know that you're here. For those of you that are on, any questions, any other thoughts? Again, I hope this serves to give you some insight on some things that maybe you can be more aware and conscientious of. It starts with the more we understand, the more we collectively can lean into the wisdom that we have, and knowing how to activate our own consciousness at the highest and best level, the more we do create the change that we're looking to do. And it does take a harmonizing of both masculine and feminine energy. So anything else? I'm not seeing any other comments come in. So with that, I am just going to send you all heart-to-heart hugs, huge heart-to-heart hugs. And just sending you on this week. I will be back Thursday with a different topic. I think, we're talking about stop, drop, meditate, how to create some of that stillness, right? And some different ways to look at meditation than maybe some of you, again, we get into a headspace sometimes that gets us blocked around what works, what doesn't work. And so we're going to open up some different things. Renee, awesome. Affirms a lot. Harmonizing energy. You are so welcome. So with that, everybody, sending you just deep love and reverence. And I will obviously be posting things throughout the week, but we will be back here Facebook Live on Thursday at 10 o'clock Central Time as well. Until then, have a magnificent and mindful Monday, and I will talk to y'all soon.